The story opens with a mother calling her son to meet her new neighbors, who are twins and have just moved in. The protagonist's name is June, and it doesn't take him long to become friends with them, who are called Naori and Rumi. The scene cuts to a bit in the future, where Rumi begins to talk about her childhood and the mistake it was to fall in love with June. Seeing him reading in class, Rumi went up to the boy to strike up a conversation, because even though they didn't have much in common, she really admired the boy's intelligence. One day when she got home, she saw June together with Naori, while they were both studying about the birth of babies. They were researching twins and explained to Rumi that they were bivitelline, i.e., when two eggs are fertilized by two different sperm at the same time. June also explained that univitelline twins have very similar genes, but in bivitelline twins this drops to 50%. Basically, univitelline twins are identical, while bivitelline twins are considered fraternal twins, so they don't look the same. When she was taught about this, she thought about how much she liked the fact that June knew so many things. The other day, because they hadn't played with him for a while, the two went to June's house and the boy's mother let them see him, so they convinced him to go outside with them. As the two girls had the same haircut and were almost the same height, only June and their mother could tell them apart. In a park, Rumi went up to the protagonist to ask him once again what he was reading, and when she left, we saw that June had a lot more in common with Naori, and Rumi realized it too. One day, after physical education class, some girls went up to Rumi to say that other girls didn't like Naori, because the girl always speaks her mind and ends up annoying the others. Another day, she saw the girls bullying her sister, so she went to talk to them, who didn't give a damn. Later, Rumi's friends took her to another room, and when they arrived, they saw June making Naori and the girl apologize to each other. He also made the girl apologize to Rumi, so he left, and she fell even more in love. It was then that she realized that she had always been in love with June, and in the present, the two are different, but her love for him remains. She went to the boys' room and saw him talking to Naori. Rumi realized that she hadn't talked to him as much since she went to high school. She used to see him and Naori walking home together, so she thought she wanted to spend more time with the boy too. One day, after putting on makeup, Rumi texted June to go to a store with her. She then asked what her sister wanted, to which she asked for a pudding. When they left the store, they went to the same park, and when they sat down on a bench, Rumi tried to strike up a conversation, but, unable to wait any longer, she got up and asked June to marry her. The boy didn't understand because it was so sudden, but after seeing that she really wanted it, June accepted. When she got home, she told Naori what had happened, and her sister seemed happy for her. Rumi was feeling a little guilty, but as she spent time with June as a couple, the guilt began to fade. She thought they were a good match, with him being the smartest boy in school and her being the cheerful sports girl. The more time passed, the closer the two became, and they seemed to be very happy together. However, they were dating in secret, and June wanted to know why, so she explained that she thought it would be more fun. When she got home, she once again told Naori what had happened in their relationship, but she felt that her sister wanted and didn't want to know about it at the same time. The only thing that consoled her was thinking that this was Naori's fault for wasting her time and not revealing how she felt. On another day, she dressed up just like she did that time and asked June to come to the store, but she didn't have the same smile. She thought she had played dirty and no longer had the right to call herself Big Sister, because she was a horrible sister. So on that very bench, she told June that she wanted to break up with him. The boy didn't know what was going on, but she had no excuse. She just thanked him and said she'd had a lot of fun during their time together. The scene cuts, and we go back to the beginning, but this time from the point of view of Naori, who considered herself to be a horrible human being. When she was reading a more adult book, that girl saw it and tried to make fun of Naori. However, showing much more maturity, she said that the girl was just making fun of her for being stupid. This led to a fight, and Naori didn't care, as her thirst for knowledge made her indifferent, as if those children were just normal humans. However, June brought her back to reality and taught her the value of living a grounded life. In high school, we see her trying to compete with June on who would get the best grades, but she never won. She knew that Rumi was in love with June, so she never told him how she felt, because if she did, she would lose her friendship with her sister. What's more, we discover that she takes the test as if it were a speed run, i.e. she finishes before everyone else and doesn't check that she got her answers right. Naori made a bet with herself that if she finishes first and gets the best grade, She'll know that luck and skill have smiled on her, so she can tell June how she feels. In the end, it was just an excuse she made up to delay things, because she didn't have the courage. The day Rumi told her that she was dating June, Naori tried to look happy for her sister, but in reality, she was extremely sad. She wondered what the two of them talked about together, but had no idea what such different people would do together to have fun. On the day they broke up, she asked her sister to bring pudding once again, and when Rumi told her what had happened, she wanted to know why. Rumi couldn't explain, and after that, Naori didn't know what to feel, and June was in shock at the situation. The scene cuts to June's family and the twins eating together. Every Golden Week, which is a Japanese holiday, they usually get together, which has become a tradition. The men started chatting about cars, and when Naori went over to the women, she commented that it was amazing how much Rumi looked like their mother. So she left and went back to June, but Rumi didn't understand why her sister had said that. Going back to when she broke up with June, the boy wanted to know why, thinking it might be something he had done. However, she said it wasn't that and asked him for a favor. Rumi asked June to date Naori. She said that she wasn't the right person for him and that June was the only person Naori wanted. On the second day of Golden Week, the day before the family dinner, she was stressed about everything that had happened, and to make matters worse, her mother asked the girl to go to June's to ask if she could have yakisoba for dinner. Arriving at his house, Rumi saw the boy's father and mother, who were going out for lunch, and said she could go in and wake June up. Entering his room, she thought about kissing him, but gave up and stared at her ex for a while. When she opened the curtains, he woke up and went straight to the bathroom. Meanwhile, she lay on his bed and tried to convince herself that she wasn't being a pervert. When he came back, she asked about the food, and he didn't seem too happy to talk about it at that moment. Changing the subject, she asked when he was going to start dating Naori as he had promised, but June didn't seem very comfortable with it. She insisted even more, saying that Naori had always been in love with him, but June said that he had chosen to date her and not Naori. June said he would think about it, so she hugged him, and just as they were about to kiss, Rumi thought of his sister and pulled away. Meanwhile, Naori had just woken up and she had already started arguing with her father, saying that Star Wars was better than Star Trek, even more so when she found out that he had eaten part of her lunch. Suddenly, she received a message from June asking her out, so she thought the boy was trying to forget his recent breakup. As the date approached, they went to the cinema to watch a romance movie with time travel. They started having the usual geeky conversation, where they both argued to see who was geekier. As they entered the room, Naori asked if June had talked to Rumi recently, as she was going out every day of Golden Week. During the film, she realized that it was just a mediocre production, but she saw that the story caught June's attention, and she believes that the reason for this was his relationship with his sister. When they left the cinema, they talked about the movie for a while, and since there were a lot of people there, they decided to go somewhere quieter. As they walked, Naori remembered her school days, when June introduced himself to the class as if he were a character. She also commented on all the nerdy things he did, which made the boy very embarrassed. As they sat on a bench after she had played with him for a while, June asked her if she would like to date him. However, she denied it, saying that she had promised her mother that she wouldn't date someone who liked Star Trek. However, she was only joking and said that she had been waiting for this for years, so she agreed to date him, and before they left, they hugged. When she got home, she looked a bit strange and told Rumi that she wanted to talk to her later. So when she went to Naori's room, the girl told her that June had asked her out. Naori said that she had flirted with him, but quickly said that it was a joke and that she had accepted. She just wanted to see her sister's face, so they changed the subject, and we went back to when the two families were having dinner together. The parents had drunk a lot, so they were already dizzy, so June told them to leave. Before leaving, he told Rumi to tell her mother that the yakisoba was great, which Naori didn't understand. In addition, their father ended up saying that he would love June to join the family, and we see that the boy's father also liked the idea. Naori liked it too, and wanted to talk about it, but June said they'd had too much to drink and he needed to go. So Rumi insisted that Naori accompany June to his house, and later, at a basketball practice, we see that she wasn't happy, and meanwhile, Naori was with her boyfriend in his room. They shared a bed, and she was taking advantage of the moment to get closer and closer to him, until, while they were talking, we discovered that the boy had been trying to like the same things as Naori since he was little. She liked that very much and said she wanted to kiss him, and when that was going to happen, the scene cut to Rumi's game. Worried about her entire situation, Rumi talked to her best friend about everything that happened. The girl called her an idiot, saying there was a chance June might start liking her younger sister. Moreover, she said that Rumi couldn't ignore her feelings just to make everyone happy because it wasn't possible to make others happy if she wasn't happy herself. Seeing that this conversation was going nowhere, Ryra changed her approach, saying that Rumi had already paid for the sin of getting ahead of her sister. So, if June breaks up with Naori and wants to be with her, everything will end well. Back to the protagonist, we see him talking to his best friend, who is called Professor by some people and is a bit weird. With Naori appearing, they talked about the romance in the works they watched, and in the end, they ended up agreeing to watch something together over the weekend. Rumi appeared and told her sister to go back to her classroom and also took Toyshige out of there because he was sitting at her desk. Additionally, she commented that his nickname was strange, and we discovered that the boy has this nickname because of his surname, which is similar to the villain in Sherlock Holmes called Professor Moriarty. Naori gave him this nickname, which made Rumi realize that her sister loved giving people nicknames. June said that Naori looked a lot like their father, while Rumi resembled their mother more. In her classroom, Naori was looking at her grades when a friend appeared and asked how she did. They compared their English grades, and Naori did better, so they decided to make things more interesting. Since Rirasu's best subject is math, they decided to see who did better. But first, they decided to bet on something. Naori didn't want to bet involving food because she had already gained a lot of weight over the holiday. So they bet that the loser would have to pay for their karaoke session. But before we see who won, the scene cut to June, who went to his friend's house. Upon arriving in his room, we see how perverted he is, with adult films scattered around. One of the films had an actress who looked like Naori, so June asked Toyshige if he liked her. The boy said he had confessed to her some time ago, but for his own good, she didn't say anything. In the end, they ended up in a conversation about which girls were or weren't Lolas, but in the middle of it, Toyshige said it was obvious that Naori liked June. Only the protagonist hadn't realized this, so he told his friend about everything that happened. June was worried about the situation he was in, while Toyshige said he wanted to curse him for complaining about it. Additionally, we found out that in the past, June liked Naori, but when he started dating Rumi, he fell in love and still has feelings for her. The scene cuts to her, who was training but ended up falling and hurting her wrist. Since her parents were away, the protagonist went to the girl's house for dinner, but Rumi didn't want to leave her room because of her injury. Thus, the protagonist went there, something Naori didn't like very much. While there, he consoled his ex-girlfriend, and when she hugged him, she cried a lot. Basically, she tries never to seem sad in front of others, but this time she couldn't bear the weight she was feeling. She really wanted to make the starting team even in her first year, but with that injury, it would be much more difficult. However, when they were about to kiss, Naori asked if everything was okay. And when her boyfriend left the room, she tried to act like she didn't care about what had happened. During dinner, everyone understood that Naori was crying, but no one mentioned it, and they had a pleasant dinner, even though Naori noticed that Rumi was avoiding looking at her or June. The next day, they went to school together, but June wasn't acting normal and couldn't even pay attention to what Naori was saying. At the end of the class, she was waiting for her boyfriend to come out, but Toyshige appeared and said that June wasn't there. He said that his friend had told him everything that happened and congratulated her for getting what she wanted. Toyshige asked her how they were as children, and Naori said that June got along better with Rumi back then. With that, he asked the girl who June's first love was, and when she answered Rumi, he called her an idiot. Toyshige told her that she was June's first love. Speaking of him, the boy was talking to Rumi. He said he couldn't get over their breakup, and she tried once again to tell him to forget what they had. June said he liked Naori in the past, but since he started dating Rumi, he realized that she is the one he loves. Crying, Rumi said he had never told her that, even though the boy thought she already knew. Hearing what Toyshige said, Naori started crying and said she would fix everything herself. Meanwhile, Rumi told June that she also had something she was hiding. Back to June's conversation with Rumi, he talked about the past when he was in love with Naori and tried to get her attention through their studies. However, over time, he realized he only saw her as a rival, and the magic faded. It was around this same time that he started dating Rumi, which made him stop focusing on Naori and think of her only as a friend. Rumi continued to feel bad, thinking she had come between her sister and June and couldn't lessen the guilt she felt. Thus, she told June to continue with Naori, so over time he would forget about her. Before she left, he commented on how strong Rumi was, but she was just pretending. Upon returning to his class, he found Naori and his friend. He noticed she had been crying, but when he asked what happened, she lied and said an eyelash had fallen into her eye. While going home, they had another conversation about the things they liked, and Naori invited June to go out together over the weekend. At karaoke with her friend, Naori talked with her about her relationship, and in the end, they ended up discussing how Naori would dress for the date. At home, Rumi found it strange to see her sister watching a romantic movie until the conversation got a bit awkward, and Naori mentioned that she would be going out with June. She asked if Rumi wanted to come along, which she declined, saying she had a basketball competition that day. In reality, Naori was joking, and when she said they were going to the park, Rumi looked sad. On the day of the date, upon seeing Naori, the protagonist was impressed by how beautiful she looked, and when they arrived at the amusement park, Naori had the idea to save the Ferris wheel for the end of the day. However, when they arrived at the aquarium, June remembered a date he had with Rumi, and we understood why the girl was sad to hear where they were going. She noticed the boy was distracted, so she tried to get his attention until they found a goblin shark. Because she touched it, her hand got a very bad smell, and of course she made the protagonist smell it too. Meanwhile, since she wasn't on the main team yet, Rumi watched the game from the stands and didn't look happy at all. After buying a goblin shark plushie and walking around a lot, Naori was tired. Because of a breeze, her skirt lifted, and the protagonist ended up seeing too much, but the only thing that worried her was if he would think about what he saw during the night. Moreover, since it was getting late, they decided to go to the Ferris wheel. Back to Rumi, she and her friend were talking. The girl found out that her friend's life wasn't so happy because after doing that with her boyfriend, whenever they were together, he only thought about doing it again, which led to a fight. This had happened 2 weeks ago, but since Rumi was so down about what happened, her friend couldn't tell her before. Thus, Rumi asked if all boys were like that. Ryra said she didn't know, but mentioned that her boyfriend was that way. At the park, while on the Ferris wheel, June remembered when he was there with Rumi. Naori told the boy that she had always been in love with him and talked about the bet she made with herself about the exams. She revealed that she was very afraid of his response, so she tried to make her situation more difficult. On another day, we see June inviting Naori to watch a movie at his house. After watching it, she was very excited and wanted to read more about the movie's subject. When they went to his room, June found the book she wanted, but Naori had a better idea. With that, as she threw him on the bed, she tried to do that with him. However, remembering Rumi, June couldn't do it. Nevertheless, she didn't give up and said he could do whatever he wanted. June said he couldn't, even though they were already dating. Thus, Naori apologized and said that, at least from her side, they were not yet dating. June didn't understand what she meant, so Naori explained. When he asked her out, she didn't actually say yes or no, meaning her decision was still pending. She said she knew June was still in love with Rumi, and that Rumi broke up with him because of her. Naori also revealed that she knew she was the protagonist's first love, and said she was willing to give herself to him despite knowing all this. She started to provoke June, saying he really wanted to do that with her and asked if he wanted to touch her body. The boy was very embarrassed, especially upon realizing that she knew everything that was going on. Thus, she said June was single, and now it was up to him, as he could start over with her or try to get back together with Rumi. She offered once again to do that with the protagonist, but the boy refused and also said he didn't intend to get back with Rumi. In reality, June planned to break up with her and leave things with Rumi as they were. He said that dating her the way things were would be disrespectful because she was his first love and remained very important to him. She was happy to hear that, especially when June said he was very attracted to her. With that, Naori made June repeat everything he said and hugged him, feeling that everything would start anew, and even though they were in a cliched love triangle, they would have a new chance and now they could fight fairly for June's love. Having resolved things with the protagonist, Naori needed to talk to Rumi, so after going to a store with her sister, They sat on that bench to talk. Naori said she wasn't dating June, which left Rumi confused. Naori told her sister that things weren't as she wanted and got irritated when Rumi thought she could do all that. Basically, Naori said that no one asked Rumi for anything, meaning all that about not wanting to get in her sister's way to avoid fighting was nonsense. She knew exactly what Rumi was thinking, who tried to lie saying she liked June only as a childhood friend. Rumi said she couldn't connect with June because she was very different from him, and it felt wrong to see the boy trying so hard for them to have something in common. With that, the two started arguing, and in the end, Rumi said she would stop treating Naori as her little sister. Meanwhile, the protagonist was at the teacher's house, who was incredulous when he found out June didn't do that with Naori. Moreover, when he asked him what he would do next, the protagonist said he would do nothing, which made his friend angry. Back to the girls, Naori accepted that and said she really wanted to stop talking to her sister to have a sincere conversation with a real Rumi. Being born 5 minutes earlier, Rumi took on the role of the older sister, which Naori didn't mind. She reminded Rumi of something she said one day, that if they weren't sisters, they would never be friends. With that, Naori told them to forget the roles of sisters and face each other as normal people. Back to the boys, the teacher told June that he avoided the decision, even though the twins did everything they could for him. Thus, he told his friend to think more simply and asked which of the two he most wanted to do that with. Naori said her sister didn't need to give up on June, even though Rumi said she had already gotten over him. However, when Naori said they had already done that, Rumi cared and it was clear she still had feelings for the protagonist. So Naori said she wouldn't hold back anymore, so Rumi should do the same or she would regret it later. Moreover, we found out that Naori was still in contact with that girl she fought with in elementary school, and we see that the two remember that time differently. The next day, we see the three together before going to school, and Naori said she would start taking tests seriously because when she comes first, she will tell June to date her. The others were shocked to hear that, and Naori said they had already talked about that love triangle, so they didn't need to hide anything anymore. However, June said that wouldn't work because he decided to distance himself from all that for a while. After class, we see Rumi and June in the same place they used to meet, and there was still a vibe between the two. Meanwhile, Naori was talking to her friend about her relationship and said that now anything goes to steal June's love. After receiving her report card, Naori approached the protagonist to boast about being number one, but to her dismay, the protagonist had also achieved the top spot. This upset her because she knew he had studied even harder to prevent her from surpassing him and having to respond to her dating request. June simply said he took the competition seriously, so she wouldn't get mad, and also mentioned that he didn't intend to date her or get back with Rumi. Seeing her sister passing by, Naori expressed disbelief that he wouldn't return to Rumi, so as proof, she asked him to hug her right then. With no other choice, the protagonist did so, and when Rumi saw the situation, she took June to the stairs to talk about it. He explained what had happened, and she also wanted a hug. After that, he congratulated her for returning to the main team. Moreover, before he left, she asked if he knew Sheena. The scene cuts to June in his classroom, sometime after talking with Rumi. A girl was calling for him, and we discovered that this beautiful girl is Sheena. She took the protagonist to another place and said she wanted private lessons with him, which Rumi had already discussed with the boy earlier. June suggested she ask someone else, but Sheena was persistent and said she would see him after class. Returning to his classroom, the teacher was envious of June because such a beautiful girl was interested in him. Even though the protagonist explained the situation, his friend remained envious, and when June said he wouldn't tutor the girl, the teacher said he would accept immediately and asked the protagonist to recommend him for the task. However, knowing his friend's character, June said he wouldn't do that to prevent people from doubting his integrity. Meanwhile, Naori was talking with her friend when the girl mentioned that Naori's birthday was coming up. They chatted a bit about what she would like as a gift and planned to spend her birthday together. Rumi went to the protagonist's classroom to find him, but ended up talking to another boy, who seemed to be from the men's basketball team, and they had agreed to train together. Rumi wanted to find June to discuss the matter of Sheena and recalled the previous day when she was talking with a girl about her grades. Sheena wanted Naori's help with her studies, but Rumi said she wasn't good at teaching, and when she mentioned that June would be the best choice for that, Shiina decided she wanted the boy's help. With him, she explained the situation and told June not to tell Naori, as she and Shiina didn't seem to get along well. Thinking about how to keep Naori occupied, the protagonist sent a message to the girl's best friend, and after explaining what was happening, she decided to help. However, she commented that she thought it was a good idea for him to help Shiina because June doesn't usually interact with girls like her, and since he's trying to recover from his relationship with the twins, it would be a great way to forget all that. The protagonist understood that she just wanted to see some drama unfold, but she offered another advantage if he helped Shiina. If June did this, she promised to find the perfect birthday present for Naori. While changing with her teammates, Rumi talked with the girls and discovered that they all knew about her relationship with June. Basically, they had even seen the two kissing on the stairs and said that when they broke up, Rumi had seemed very different, but now she appeared to have improved. Leaving practice, she met Shiina, and when the protagonist appeared, the girls suggested they have dinner together while they talked. She invited the two to her house, and Rumi explained to June that the girl's father wasn't home and her mother was rarely around, so it would be nice to keep her company. Just as they were about to leave school, Ririsu told Naori to return with her to the club room because she had forgotten her charger there. However, as they were about to do so, they passed by the teacher, who ended up telling them about what had happened between June and Shiina. Upon arriving at the girls' house, they were impressed by how beautiful the apartment was, and when she introduced her cat to them, Rumi was very happy. Before they started, Shiina asked Rumi if she liked June, and when she said no, the girl seemed pleased. Shiina seemed to want to get closer to the protagonist, and while this was happening, Naori was talking with the teacher about what had happened. She seemed to dislike Shiina and was sure the protagonist wouldn't agree. Speaking of him, the boy was impressed once again because the dinner she prepared was excellent, and he understood that she knew how to cook because she spent so much time alone. Talking about studies, Shiina wanted June to tutor her until the recovery exam, and he ended up agreeing. On their way home, as they were talking, Naori encountered the two and asked what they were doing. Rumi explained Shiina's request, and when she mentioned her kitten, Naori got excited because she loves cats. However, upon arriving home, she got straight to the point and asked if the protagonist had declined Shiina's request. June said he accepted, which left Naori in shock and confused, especially when the protagonist said he would only explain it later. At home, Naori was very curious about why June had agreed to tutor a girl like Shiina. She feared her beloved might be interested in Shiina and didn't want the girl to waste June's time, so she decided to take action. Naori went to his house, but June was watching something he shouldn't have been. In reality, it was just a regular movie, and she enjoyed laughing at his embarrassed expression. Getting straight to the point, Naori asked why he had agreed to teach Shiina. June couldn't explain, and when his mother brought them something to eat, Naori remarked that they should get married soon because she wanted to join the family. To be sure, Naori asked if June was interested in Shiina. When he denied it, she asked if it was okay for her to join him in tutoring the girl. The next day, talking to Rumi about what happened, he asked her to come along since Shiina wanted to study at his house. However, Rumi couldn't go because she had a training session with a boys' basketball team. While waiting for Shiina to arrive, they entered the building, and despite wanting to start the lesson right away, Shiina preferred to take a bath first. Meanwhile, Rumi was at a cafe with her teammates, pondering what Shiina meant when she asked if Rumi liked June. Suddenly, they saw Naori watching them, so Rumi went over to ask her sister what she wanted. Naori wanted to know about June but was too embarrassed to ask Rumi in front of her friends. Alone with Ain, June wondered why the cat was named that. However, upon seeing Shiina emerge from the bath, he became very embarrassed. She realized her mistake and ran to her room, not because of her attire but because she wasn't wearing makeup. While studying, he mentioned it, but Shiina said it wasn't a problem since he wasn't interested in her. When he agreed, Shiina became curious about who June liked, but he told her to answer that question first. Shiina confessed she had a slight interest in a boy at school who reminded her more of tea than coffee and was very intelligent. She discovered that June and Rumi had broken up some time ago and seemed relieved. Back with the twins, Naori asked Rumi if she wasn't worried about June being so close to Shiina. Although Rumi said she wasn't, she considered the possibility of something happening. On another day, Shiina wanted a break from studying to eat sweets. When she convinced the protagonist to get them, she tried to escape. However, when he followed her, he discovered she was very different from what he had imagined. Shiina was a true otaku, with many items referencing anime and manga. Additionally, her cat's name was the same as the dog from Cowboy Bebop. Most of the collectibles belonged to her father, a designer, who gave her the apartment after he and her mother separated. There was apparently no conflict in the divorce, as her parents continued working together as fashion designers, which was one reason she became a model. Still asleep, Naori was awakened by messages from her friend, who was already waiting for them to go out together. Meanwhile, the protagonist was with Shiina at the mall because he wanted her help buying a birthday gift for Rumi. In another store, Naori and her friend were discussing plush toys when they saw June and Shiina walk by, prompting Naori to ask her friend about the homicide article in Penal Code. She quickly texted her sister, saying Shiina was out with June, and since they looked like a couple in the photos, Rumi rushed to meet Naori. At a cafe, Rumi mentioned that Shiina liked a boy who wasn't June, but she didn't know who it was. Naori remained unconvinced and asked if she could join the lessons, deciding to accompany him the next day. Upon arriving, Shiina was delighted to see Naori and immediately gave her a cute nickname. Seeing the cat, Naori wanted to do nothing but pet it, but while the others studied, she fell asleep on the couch. Suddenly, Shiina's mother arrived, revealing where the girl got her beauty and extroverted nature. She told Shiina that her father and brother were in Japan and arranged for them to have dinner together. On the way home, Naori realized Shiina wasn't as bad as she had thought. Taking advantage of June holding her umbrella, Naori took his hand, and they walked home hand in hand. Since he hadn't decided what to buy for Rumi yet, the protagonist went to the mall with his friend, who wasn't being much help. The scene shifts to Rumi and Ryra. They were talking about the basketball game they would have the next day, when Rumi asked how things were going between Ryra and her boyfriend. Things were better, but that problem continued to persist, and Ryra commented that dating is about finding a balance between liking and disliking. This made Rumi realize that she had always kept her feelings bottled up, so she always avoided June and Naori. Since the protagonist had sent a message for them to meet, Rumi went to see him. In a park, June decided to give her birthday present early because he wanted to do it before the game. He bought her a new water bottle, which made her very happy. After hugging him, she decided she wouldn't let anyone steal what she felt for him, not even Naori. June said he would watch her game and tried to boost Rumi's confidence, but at that moment, she wanted something more, a kiss. When she got home, Naori wished her sister good luck and was acting a bit strange. Rumi went to her room, where things got awkward when they mentioned June. The next day, when going to talk to the protagonist, Naori ran into Shiina, who was very confident about her makeup exam results. As they returned home together, June went with Naori to her room and, wishing her a happy birthday, gave her the present he had bought. It was a plush toy she really wanted, which her best friend had recommended the protagonist buy. Additionally, he gave her another gift, a case for her to store her glasses, which was the same as his. This made her very happy because they matched. However, she knew he had given Rumi her present the day before. He explained that he just wanted to give it to her before the game, but Naori was very sad that he had hidden this from her. June apologized, and she told him to pay more attention to her, which he promised to start doing. Later, the protagonist stayed at their house to celebrate the twins' birthday, and later, they went to a store together. The next day, Naori's best friend bought several sweets for her to eat. They reminisced about when they first met and how they initially disliked each other. In the end, they became very close friends, and while Naori talked about creating a club to make June spend more time with her, someone rang the doorbell. It was Shiina, who was there to celebrate Naori's birthday with them. Shiina gave Naori a necklace that she had designed herself. She also had another gift, a cat ear headband, and while Shiina was excited about Naori's cuteness, Rirasu confessed something. Basically, she had orchestrated everything because Shiina really wanted to become friends with Naori, so Rirasu suggested that she ask Rumi for help with her studies. In the end, everything that happened was Rirasu's doing, and she already knew Shiina from an online game they both liked. In another game, June and Rumi's family went to watch her, and at the end of the match, with only a 1-point difference, she scored the winning basket in the final seconds. During the night, due to the adrenaline, she couldn't sleep, and Naori went to her room to talk. Naori praised her sister's skill and remembered the past when she said her sister should practice basketball. Additionally, when asking if June had wished her luck for the next day's game, Naori found out he hadn't, so she told Rumi to go to his house to do so. However, when she left the house, we discovered that this was the last kind act Naori would do because, as she herself said, from now on, she wouldn't be nice anymore. In another game of Rumi's, because of the last point she scored, the opposing team doubled their defense on her, making it difficult for her to score, and they ended up losing. This left her extremely sad. In that same park, she was crying while reading her conversation with June. At school, Rumi didn't want to burden the protagonist with her problems, so she didn't call him to talk. As she was leaving, she ran into Mizuma, that boy who is June's friend and on the boys' basketball team. He tried to console her, saying that Rumi had played well, and then he confessed that he was in love with her. In the protagonist's classroom, Naori mentioned the creation of a new club, which the teacher loved, but they needed to have 5 members to get the school's approval. The teacher said he wanted the other member to be a well-bred, sweet, pure, and fragile maiden. Suddenly, Rurisu and Shiina appeared, and Rurisu was getting closer to Naori because she liked her a lot. In the end, she would be the 5th member, but they still didn't know the club's theme. Naori just wanted to create a place where they could talk about what they liked. However, it would be difficult for the school to accept such a club, so June suggested that they say the club would focus on critique or comparative research, where they could release a collection of reviews of what they watched at the cultural festival. With that, they only needed a room and an advisor, and June suggested they try Professor Yoda. In the basketball club, Rumi talked to Raira about what happened, and Raira said she had already imagined something like that could happen. Rumi didn't know what to do, and Raira said it was simple. She just needed to turn the boy down and act as usual. On the train, the protagonist was talking to Naori about the club and said they would need a plan B in case the room and advisor didn't work out. Back to Rumi, she went to talk to Mizuma, who asked if she was dating June and commented on his closeness with her sister. Nevertheless, she confessed that she was still in love with June. Even so, he invited her on a date, but the conversation was interrupted by Raira. She commented that Mizuma tried to play dirty because by mentioning June's closeness with Naori, he tried to shake Rumi into agreeing to go out with him. However, Rumi didn't believe that was his intention, but Raira asked if she really liked June, and when her friend confirmed, she told her to go after him. That night, she called her beloved and asked if he was friends with Mizuma, but upon realizing they weren't that close, she decided to hang up. The next day, Naori suggested Rurisu be the club president, but she didn't want to and said she would only accept if Naori were the vice president. Meanwhile, Raira was trying to cheer up Rumi, telling her to make her decision as if she were playing basketball. Thus, when she met Mizuma, Rumi said she couldn't go out with him, but the boy still insisted, saying he didn't intend to force her to date him and just wanted to have a date with her at least once, even if only as friends. Back to June, he managed to get the teacher to accept, but regarding the room, another club requested it for researching games like chess and shogi. Basically, the leader of this club will be Raito, a boy from another class, and Naori intended to make him give up the room. On their way home, they met Rumi, and she asked if she could call June later. During the call, Rumi asked if it was okay for her to go out with Mizuma, and June didn't understand the reason for this, saying she could go out with whoever she wanted. She continued talking about it, but June didn't know how to respond because he wasn't in a position to say whether she could go or not. Basically, Rumi wanted June to be upset about the idea of her going out with another boy. But when he didn't, she became upset and started to cry. Hearing a noise coming from her sister's room, Naori went there, and Rumi told her what happened. With that, Naori asked if she was going to go out with Mizuma, but when Rumi said she didn't know, Naori asked what would happen if she did. The scene cuts to the protagonist seeing a message Rumi sent during the night until she walks past him and they don't speak. Later, Naori was excited to go to the second-year room to talk with the leader of the other club. However, during lunch, Shiina went there and caused a commotion about the room, saying they would go there after classes ended. Afraid of keeping a senior waiting too long, June said they should go right away. When they arrived, June spoke for all of them, and right off the bat, the boy said he wouldn't let them have the room. However, they still lacked a member to form a club, but there was no rule that having all members gave priority for a room. Thus, June proposed settling the matter with a chess match and said if he won, he would join their club. The boy warned that even though they called it a recreation club, they planned to be a chess club, but June accepted anyway. He accepted, but with a condition. Since he is in the second year, he is closer to graduation, meaning fewer opportunities, so he wanted an advantage, choosing against whom he would compete. Moreover, he reassured June, saying he wouldn't choose Shiina for obvious reasons and asked Naori if she knew how to play. With that, it was decided she would be his opponent. Basically, everything worked out because even though June wanted to participate, he knew Naori was a great choice. As a child, she hated playing chess, but her father always made her play with him. And since she plays shogi, she thinks she won't have problems, so the match will be in 2 days and June will help her train. Back to Rumi, she was remembering the previous night when her sister said she wouldn't go out with a boy if she were in her place, and wouldn't give June the chance to decide. Moreover, she supported the idea of Rumi talking to the protagonist about it, as she was curious to see how June would react, because if he stopped her from going on the date, it would mean he chose her. She was thinking about this in the locker room until one of her classmates appeared and commented that she saw her and Mizuma talking the other day. She started asking if they were dating until another girl called Rumi and confessed she dated Mizuma for a while. They went to a cafe to talk about it, and Mai said she dated him for a short time. Basically, she wanted to date him, but Mizuma refused, so she asked to try for at least a week, which didn't work out very well, even though she still liked him. Mizuma said he liked another girl, whom we know as Rumi, and as they left the cafe, Kanako told her to go out with Mizuma and ask about Mai, so she could say she wasn't interested and tell him to go back to her. Rumi agreed to do this for Mai, and when she looked at her phone, there was a message from June inviting her to talk, but since she was with her friends, she said she couldn't. Back to the protagonist, he was teaching Naori, and after a while, June told her to go home as it was getting late. Smart as always, Naori said she could sleep there like when they were kids, but the boy refused, even though he said it would be nice if they could all sleep together like before. She didn't like that because she wanted exclusivity, and when she left, June talked to Rumi on the phone and arranged to talk the next day. At lunchtime, they went to the same staircase, and June ended up telling her he was helping Naori with chess because of the new club they were forming. Moreover, they talked about Mizuma, and he said he still didn't know what to feel, not being her boyfriend, but he didn't like the idea of her going out with other boys. However, Rumi said she needed to talk to Mizuma about her basketball team, and June wished her good luck. Thus, when she met the boy at school, she accepted his invitation and said they should go out together the next day. At home, she was thinking about this until her mother appeared in her room and asked if she wanted to have dinner at June's house, as Naori was also there, and his mother invited Rumi too. With that, she went there and watched the two play chess, which Naori didn't like much, but ended up accepting. Moreover, she won against June, and after a long time, the three managed to have fun together. The next day, June went to their house because before class, he wanted to think of some strategies with Naori. However, seeing Rumi dressed to go out with someone else, June seemed upset. Later, they gathered to talk about the club, and June left with Naori to buy something to drink. However, he received a very strange message from Mizuma, saying that what he had with Rumi was serious. Naori also read the message and saw how worried June was, so she told him he could go and just make it up to her later. He thanked her, but before leaving, Naori asked for a kiss, and since he gave her one on the cheek, she had to give him a real kiss. This shows that even though she tried to appear strong, she was very sad. Meanwhile, Rumi's date was going well until the boy asked if she liked June. She couldn't answer, so she asked if he could get back with Mai, making him realize he was in the same situation, but this time he was the one insisting on a relationship. Back to Naori, the chess game began, and right away, the boy noticed she was good. They started quoting books, and when Naori asked if he was hitting on her, the boy laughed a lot and, after thinking for a moment, said he would give up the room for them. Basically, whether winning or losing, they would keep the room, but Raito wanted to continue with the game. He explained that he didn't care much about the room, he just didn't like them demanding that he give it up. So the game continued, and the protagonist rushed to find Rumi, which was very difficult for him since he doesn't usually exercise. Upon finding them, June was very tired and said he couldn't stay away after the message Mizuma sent. Moreover, June apologized to Rumi for not explaining what he felt. He was very happy when they started dating, but after they broke up and sometimes thought they could try again, he realized it wasn't right. However, this didn't mean he began to prefer Naori. In reality, he is in love with both of them, and even though it seems ridiculous, he can't choose between them because he likes them equally. Thus, he promised that one day, he would make a decision and asked her to give him time to choose. She agreed, but Mizuma didn't like what he heard because to him, the protagonist was just avoiding the decision, choosing the easier path. This led to a discussion where Mizuma said that June wouldn't even be able to protect Rumi if she needed it. However, she said that June might end up losing, but he would certainly try to defend her. Changing the subject, Rumi asked how the protagonist found out where they were, and he revealed it was Naori who told him. With that, Mizuma left, and June stayed with Rumi. Additionally, Naori won the match, and Raito said he wanted a rematch. However, she said she would only compete if she got something in return, but Rirasu told Naori to be nicer, and the girl said she would think about it. Meanwhile, Rumi and the protagonist were in a cafe, talking about the past, and seemed to be having fun. When she got home, she discovered that Naori was going to sleep over at Sheena's and found it strange because they were supposed to have dinner with June. During dinner, the protagonist wanted to talk to Naori about everything that happened, and before Rumi could talk about it, her father arrived. At Sheena's house, Naori refused to eat the garlic fries prepared by the girl, and since she likes them, Rirasu noticed something. She and Sheena understood that Naori planned to make a move on June that day, and she explained, saying it was now or never. June and the girl's father were watching a science fiction movie when Rumi invited the boy to go to the convenience store. In reality, she just wanted a moment alone with him and said that day was very fun for her because they managed to talk a lot. He enjoyed it too, and they held hands on the way to the store. Additionally, when they returned, June commented that he would feel a lot of pain in his body, which Rumi found funny since he only ran a little. Thus, they said goodbye, but when he got home, the protagonist was surprised because Naori was waiting for him and said she wanted to sleep at his house. As he had promised to make it up to her for leaving before the chess match, she said she wanted this. However, since there was no one else home besides him, June tried to refuse, but with Naori saying she would sleep on the street if he didn't agree, the boy let her in. Not having taken a bath at Sheena's house, Naori wanted to do so, but told June to go first. Thus, when she got what she wanted, she turned off the bathroom lights and joined the boy. Realizing she was undressed, June was very embarrassed, and Naori wanted to do that with him, but as always, he refused and ran out of there. Returning to the past, we see a conversation between her and the teacher, who noticed the girl was upset about something and understood it was because of June. Moreover, he asked why she liked June, believing it was because her sister also wanted him. However, still in the bath, she confirmed it wasn't that, as she truly loves the protagonist. Nonetheless, she was still confused about whether she was trying so hard just not to lose to Rumi. Leaving the bath, she made another demand, wanting to sleep with him in the same bed, which, after much insistence, she achieved. She tried once more and asked why he ran out of the bathroom without doing anything. June replied that they couldn't do that because they weren't dating, so she suggested they start dating right away. He said once again that they couldn't, but with much insistence, she managed to kiss him, though she was sad to realize that the main reason they didn't do anything was Rumi. The next day, June told his friend about what happened, and the teacher couldn't believe the protagonist didn't do anything. Meanwhile, Naori was also talking to her friends about the previous night, and Sheena was talking much less than usual. Back to June, he said he loved Naori, but also loved Rumi with the same intensity. At home, the boy's mother mentioned they would be going on a trip with the twins' family. June didn't want to go, but after exchanging messages with both girls and to make his parent happy, he agreed to the trip. Upon arriving, June's father made bad coffee, and the girls tried to protect him, so he commented once again that he wanted one of them to join his family, which their father also strongly supports. Later, the three went stargazing together, and everything seemed fine until the girls started fighting and hitting each other because Rumi didn't like how Naori tried to use others, while Naori hated when her sister acted superior. In the end, June intervened and ended up getting hit accidentally, which stopped their fight. Back at school, Rumi and Raira went to see the room they were given for their new club. Naori didn't like this much, especially when her friends started commenting on her reasons for starting the club. However, she wasn't ashamed of her reason to get closer to June, and when she hugged him, Rumi didn't hold back, and everyone asked them to take their sibling rivalry outside the room. Well, folks, that was the summary of the first season of Love is Indivisible by Twins. If you liked the video, leave a like and subscribe to the channel. See you later.